Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Stories to Tell. And once again, I'm Logan, and this right here is Jonathan. And we're just gonna get right into it because there is I feel like we're going to have a very interesting conversation today.
I am so excited for this.
hmm So,
I'm looking at your Zoom background, and it has my curiosity piqued.
yeah. So the background, I should probably explain that. This background is perfect to set the stage. This is the Mediterranean Sea behind me. Okay, we're in Rome. In If I can get it pulled up, we are in Rome in about, let's say, 40 AD. Okay,
Oh wow, we're going way back.
yeah, we're
Okay.
going way back. And let's say that you are a senator in the Roman Senate. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
you're up there. You're up there, and you get a summons from the emperor. Come to Rome immediately.
That can be good or a bad thing depending on the emperor, I feel like.
You go there to the summons and you realize all of the other senators are there as well. You're like, oh hey, there's Romanicus and there's Germanicus and all the other kisses. What's going on? The emperor walks out and simply looks at you all and goes, I could kill you if I want. Have a good trip back. Ladies and gentlemen, you just experienced what it would be like to live one night under the rule of Emperor Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, more commonly known as Caligula.
Oh my goodness.
This man, there's just so much about this man. I had a lot of trouble choosing just one event. So we're going to do a very brief, at a glance overview of certain events in his life. So
Okay, this can be very entertaining. I'm excited.
a little background here. Um, so he was supposedly born the 13th of August, 12, 0012. Okay, 12 AD. And he's going along, and he is the granddaughter. He is the, sorry, the great grandson of Agrippina the Elder, who was very influential. Um, so he comes from like a pretty good. He's born into the ruling family, okay, known as like the Julio Claudian dynasty. So he's royalty, obviously. Well, not obviously. It is Rome we're talking about.
Yeah.
He goes through and he lives his life as a normal Roman royal. He is a citizen by birth, which was possibly, which other than being in the Senate or being the emperor, was the highest position you could get in Rome. Um, and then in around around AD 14, I think it was AD 14 or AD 19, his Caligula's uncle Tiberius became, well, in AD 14 Tiberius became emperor of Rome. In AD 19, he's like, man, my deceased brother's wife, she has a claim to the throne. So I'm gonna do the very logical thing and kill off the entire family.
Jeez.
Yep, everyone except Caligula. But
So this is like a step beyond like Hamlet. I mean, he's not just like marrying her strategically to to
no, no, no.
cement and all that. No, it's just off with their heads.
Yeah, this is like imagine the Bolshevik Revolution, but instead of a revolution, it's just the emperor killing off everyone that could possibly take his spot. But the strange thing is, Caligula actually joins Tiberius's army. And so he's serving under Tiberius, who killed his entire family. And that's how Caligula survives. That's why Caligula isn't killed off, is because he's a soldier. And for some reason decides not to kill him. And then in let's see, in AD 37, Caligula succeeded Tiberius as emperor. And so now we're finally getting to the good stuff. Okay, that's a very brief, very at a glance early life history of Caligula, whose name Caligula basically means tiny shoe. Um, yeah, it's from when he was a kid. He'd follow his father onto the battlefield, as all kids do. Hey, I'm going to Iraq. You want to come with me, Tommy? Yeah, sure, Dad. But
Right.
but no,
And Rome was such a trip. Holy cow.
yeah. So he would follow his father out onto the battlefield, and he would wear he would wear tiny versions of the sandals that the Roman soldiers wore, which is called a caliga. And so hence the term Caligula,
Uh,
little sandal or little caliga. But so it's AD 37, and Caligula is finally the emperor, right? And at first, everything is going perfect. The first, the first year or so of his reign is described as paradise. Rome flourishes. He builds, two aqueducts, the Aqua Claudia and Anio Novus. So, I mean, these are big projects that really benefit all of Rome. And then he goes off the deep end. There are a lot of things that happen, but I think the one I want to start out with. Have you ever you Jonathan, I'm trying to remember. You've had a pet before, right?
yes, a few.
Yeah, okay. And how much did you like them? Like, would you say they were important to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've always been a cat guy.
Well, Caligula had a horse. And this horse's name, yes, we even know the name of his horse. If that's not a red flag. But this horse's name was Incitatus.
Somebody felt that was necessary to
Incitatus.
pass on through the generations.
Well, let's put it this way. He loved that horse so much that he would put horse girls to shame. I'm not talking about spending every day with it, riding it, brushing it, loving it, kissing it on the muzzle, No, 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 no. I'm talking that this horse had a marble stable, an ivory manger, and was fed straw mixed with gold.
Huh. The I feel like all of that would almost. I mean, the ivory manger is one thing, but the straw mixed with gold and the marble stable may not have been like ideally healthy for the horse. Maybe they just didn't know much about horses at the time. I,
I mean, all I can tell you is that unless you got shoes on a horse, putting them on a hard surface usually is not a good idea.
yeah, it seems unpleasant.
Oh, But get this, it goes even further. You'd think that lavishing his horse with all of the, riches that the world has to offer, all of this wealth would be enough. No. Before he, spoiler alert, was assassinated. Wow, big surprise there. A Roman emperor
Yeah.
assassinated. Now, where have we heard that story?
I mean, the dude just bought an ivory manger for his horse, so like
That's one of the tamer stories.
some mismanagement of public funds is happening here.
You think? Before he was assassinated, he had a plan in the works to make his horse the Roman consulate, the highest position of authority under the emperor.
He wanted to make the horse consul. Like
Not,
I assume that somebody like was this just a ploy to like take over the consul's office, like eliminate the consul and like just do that job himself.
I don't know. It could have just been like a show of power. Like, hey, I'm the emperor. I can do whatever I want. I can even make up my horse the consulate. You guys can't say anything about it.
That is wild.
But that's not even the strangest thing. Caligula, at one time, at multiple times, he declared war. That's what emperors do, is they go to war. But usually you go to war against an invading enemy or someone that you want to annex or, you know, have conquest for uh, whatever gains you have, whether it's you need people to use as slaves in that time, or you want their industry but you don't want to pay for it. Have you ever heard of someone trying to fight a god? Yeah,
Like he declared war.
on Neptune. I'm not
Like
talking I'm not talking the planet. I'm talking Neptune, god of the seas.
okay,
And there's like so I told you earlier when we were getting ready. I got this idea from a history meme I saw, right?
okay.
Well, that meme said, if you ever feel like you've messed up, just remember that Emperor Caligula once ordered his men to fight Poseidon. He marched his army to the beach and told them to start stabbing the water. You want to know the crazier thing? He declared victory.
So was this all just some kind of like ritual thing? Like we're sick of having all these storms at sea, so we're gonna like
No,
stab Poseidon.
we don't know exactly, but some people speculate that it was preparation or part of an attempt to invade Britain, which his successor actually accomplished. Um, Claudius, he finally conquered Britain in the 40s, AD
So
40s.
he was concerned that Poseidon would stop them.
That, or his army got to the beach and was like, nah, we you see this body of water right here? It's rolling all over the place. I mean, it's the English Channel. Na-
Right.
Nature does change, but it hasn't changed that much. The English Channel is turbulent today, meaning it still would have been turbulent back then. And they ain't floating no, you know, 50-ton displacement military warship. They're doing boats that rely on rely on, you know, the fact that wood floats and not on displacement. But And so his soldiers are like, heck no, we're not going to cross that. We're going to die. And Caligula, again, this is all speculation, but Caligula might have been like, okay, you don't want to fight Britain? Fight Poseidon. Go fight Neptune. Go collect the seashells as spoils of war.
And apparently he got his point across because, well, or maybe he didn't, and then it was the next guy that finally got the point across.
Something like that. But the more I've read about this guy, about halfway through his reign only lasted 4 years.
I'm shocked.
I know. Stunner, right? But so he ruled from 37 to 41. However, his rule was not the shortest rule of a Roman emperor. The shortest was like 29 days.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know who it goes to, but pretty short.
But it's pretty short. I mean, 4 years that's.
Yeah. So 4 years, that's one presidential term.
Right.
And so he's ruling, and about halfway through his rule, the guy just goes completely off the rails bonkers. He banned people from talking about goats near him.
Did he have some kind of like bad experience, like a goat bit him or something?
No, apparently he looked like one.
Hey, guy can't take a joke. Okay,
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
it's like yeah, but then again, he he believed that he had extraordinary powers, and he declared himself an immortal god.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And so he's going around declaring himself a god, and he also made it illegal for anyone from a position anyone standing on a position higher than his own. It was illegal to look down towards him. You could literally not look down on Caligula. And like I said, this honestly is just the brink of his madness. During the gladiatorial games one time, and again, remember, this is in very early, turn meridian of time, whatever the correct term is, years, where we've lost a lot of information. And so a lot of this is speculation, a lot of this is guesswork pieced together from what accounts did survive. But it's said, so during the gladiatorial games, you would have a couple of sections. There would be like animal fights at the beginning, and the last part in the afternoon would be the actual gladiatorial games with gladiators and all of that. Save the best for last. In the middle, while people are enjoying a nice, refreshing lunch, they get to watch some executions as well. Dinner and a show, right?
That'll ruin your appetite real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're eating flamingo tongues, so.
Well, that just ruined my appetite. Flamingo tongue. Actually, I mean, that could be good, I guess, because like lengua beef tongue is good.
Yeah. Oh man, I love tacos de lengua.
Yeah.
We gotta get some. You need to come up here, and we need to go there again.
No, dude, I have a place
Down there? Or?
down here that I found.
Okay. We're getting off topic.
Anyway, back to Caligula, who was eating his flamingo tongues, but having executions as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently, one day, they ran out of slaves to execute.
And wait, so they weren't even like executing criminals. Like they were just picking random slaves and be like, okay, you die today?
Like I said, a lot of it is piecework. We don't
Jeez.
have full accounts. But
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like. Was either slaves or convicted criminals. You know,
Yeah.
you better hope someone commits a murder if you're a slave, because
Otherwise, you'd
if
be
it's not them, it's you.
the show must go on. Ugh.
The show must go on, and that's what Caligula decided. So he was like, huh, no slaves, huh? Nobody to execute. That section right there, throw them in the arena.
Just random people.
And a section of what was the name of the place that the gladiator festival held in?
Colosseum.
Coliseum. Yeah, that section of Coliseum. He's like, yeah, they gonna die today.
So these are just
Your
like
average Roman,
fans that have shown up to watch.
yeah, your average Romans, and they're just like, yeah, we gotta go watch some animal fights, and then executions. Oh man, I hope I get a head souvenir.
Ugh.
And then we get gladiator fights, and wait, why are the soldiers coming into our section? Oh, we're the entertainment.
I feel like this would hurt attendance at future gladiator events. You know,
Either
like
that or
you can have this idea of, oh, I could be next, right?
yeah, yeah. And here's a question: when do you think the first yacht was created?
Yacht.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would assume, given the context, that Caligula had it made.
No, he had two made.
This dude was the original oligarch. He's like,
Yeah, these things were huge. Um, so we didn't. We actually found these pleasure barges.
oh,
Basically, it's a party yacht,
right.
Roman party yacht. So,
With all that that entails.
hmm but apparently they were uncovered during the 1920s and 30s. So they had been mostly destroyed, but a lead pipe was found bearing in, I'm assuming Latin, bearing the inscription property of Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus.
So they found Caligula's pipe.
I'm assuming it's a lead pipe, like kind of like an industrial pipe almost.
Okay.
But like, I mean, Rome actually had a lot of technology that we do today, just not in electronic forms, but like they could work metal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the
Hmm.
Roman sewage system in some places is still in use today.
Hmm. But so like they found these pleasure barges, and it's like, oh my gosh, this guy was he he really took advantage of Rome's wealth and influence. I mean, the guy was living it up. There's no other way to put it. Um, but it's hilarious because you know I'm saying like I'm just going into you know tips and bits and pieces. There's a whole lot in here, but I mean this guy was the absolute like he is the picture child of a nutcase. You were
Absolutely. I was muted.
you were muted.
I was.
I mean, this guy like, and they say it's entirely possible that his madness was caused by a physical disease. Um, where was it? Yeah, it's possible that it's possible that like he had like a frontal lobe swelling or something like that that just severely impacted brain functions or something like that, or just made him lose his sense of reason.
I think there's a episode of the show Madam Secretary where that happens to the president and he tries to start a nuclear war or something.
Mhm.
It's pretty crazy that like imagine somebody with that much power who just has no ability to control their impulses. You know.
Yeah. And so, I mean, but he's the emperor. So instead of imagining it as the president, imagine if the president somehow took all of the power. He was every branch of the government, and he had no sanity.
Like no common sense inhibitions. Like you
Yeah,
can't do
no.
this thing.
And if you disagree with him, he's either gonna kill you or sleep with your wife. He did that to a lot of Roman senators that disagreed with him, and he would brag about it to them.
Jeez.
Yeah, the dude was a total nut job.
Okay.
But he met his demise like many Roman emperors before him. Ironically, so his name is very familiar, right?
Right.
Caesar Augustus Germanicus. He's named after Caesar. Well, what's everyone knows Caesar. And how did Caesar die?
Stabbed on the steps of the Senate. He was, yeah.
Guess how guess how Caligula died? Stabbed, but not on the steps of the Senate.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. It was in like one of the secret passages within the imperial palace, but it was actually the Praetorian guards that killed him.
Oh, his own like elite, like
That
those were his dudes. Like the Praetorian Guard were,
the emperor's personal guard.
yeah, fanatically loyal to the emperor under normal circumstances. Normal, normal.
Exactly. And so he was just completely stabbed. It says over 30 times.
When the emperor ticks off the Praetorian Guard enough to make them assassinate him, that's a pretty good indicator of just how bad things have gotten.
I mean, to put it in perspective, not even Caesar was betrayed by his Praetorian guard.
No, they were very very loyal. In fact, I mean, other times in Roman history, the Praetorian Guard kind of were the kingmakers, right? They were the emperor makers. If you got the Praetorian Guard on your side, you were the emperor
Mm-hmm.
because they were so powerful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And so that's kind of what I have for you tonight. It's just that this one guy just went so off the rails that he's forever remembered for all of the wrong reasons. Like he started out just fine, like I said. The first 2 years of his reign, paradise. Rome had never been better. The second 2 years of his reign, Rome had never been worse.
that's so crazy, and it really does kind of play into that theory that he had some kind of mental illness, right? So, and even that,
Mm-hmm.
that swelling of the frontal lobe, because to just suddenly flip a switch like that and go from being an effective administrator and whatever else to like executing random civilians in gladiatorial combat,
Yeah. And like I said, I have not gone all the way down the rabbit hole on this. There is a lot more about him that I was just like, maybe I'm not gonna look into that. We try.
Yeah, I assume that like most there's going to be some pretty disturbing stuff. The Roman emperors had some crazy stuff going on.
I mean, we're trying to keep this light and funny, so I'm just telling the funny ones. Like come on, what sane person would ever say like, you know what? I'm gonna make my horse the consul.
I love that. That's just great. Great stuff.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's time to move on to our next segment. It's our funny history facts.
Okay. Have I got a funny history fact for you? for you today. This is crazy. This is one of the craziest things I've ever read. Um, we're gonna shift gears by about 1900 years,
So like
and
1941,
okay, so not quite 1900 years. Um,
but
1912.
okay,
All right,
1912. World War One is just starting.
hasn't quite started yet.
Okay,
And that's actually important. So 1912, I would say, is perhaps best known for being the year that the Titanic sank.
okay.
Right. Actually, okay, we're actually going to go to 1911 first. Um, we're going to talk
Make up
about
your mind,
Violet.
man.
Sorry, yeah, Violet Jessup. 1912 will be important, but Violet
Violet
Jessup.
Jessup. Hmm.
She was a stewardess. She was and she worked for the White Star shipping line, famously the shipping line that operated the Titanic. Um, so the Titanic was not the only ship of that class that the White Star Line built. There were actually three of them: the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. Um, and so Violet Jessup was a stewardess on the Olympic. Um, and on September 20th, 1911, the Olympic was leaving Southampton, England, and was passing by a British Royal Navy cruiser called HMS Hawke. And the Olympic was such a massive ship, right? So huge that that she created suction as she went past, and the Hawk was pulled out into the channel until the mooring lines just snapped, and she swung around and nailed the Olympic in the
Oh,
stern. And the Hawk was damaged, and the Olympic was damaged. They stayed afloat, both of them, and
could you imagine explaining that to your superior, uh, sir? So, you know that like big gigantic warship we have in port? Yeah, the Hawk. Yeah, soldier. What about it? Yeah, it's not there anymore.
it got sucked away. Yeah, I mean that should put in perspective how huge these ships were. Like, there's a reason that the Titanic, for example, was as famous as it was at the time. These ships were just massive, and nobody had ever
Hmm.
seen anything like this before. But so Violet Jessup survives. Everybody survives. There's
It doesn't sink.
everybody's okay. She doesn't sink. Yeah. About a year later, Violet Jessup has transferred over to the new ship, right? The
The
Titanic.
Titanic.
New exciting ship. She's now
Oh
a
man.
stewardess on the Titanic, and the Titanic, of course, famously sinks. And Violet is put into a lifeboat and just handed a random baby. Said, "Here, take care of this baby, okay?"
I would be panicking so hard.
She gets to New York, um, on the Carpathia, which was the ship that picked up most of the Titanic
Hmm.
survivors, and 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 this random lady runs up to her and is like, "Oh my goodness, my baby!" and takes the baby and runs off. And she, that's the end of that. And then years later, she actually gets a phone call from that baby who has now grown up, like, "Thank you for saving me that night." Anyway,
Hmm.
so she survives, right? She survived the Olympic getting run into. She survived the Titanic sinking.
Please don't tell me she goes on to the Britannica.
She goes on to the Britannic as well. She joins the Red Cross Voluntary Aid Detachment as kind of a combination stewardess and nurse. Because see, the Britannic, by the time the Britannic was finished in 1915, uh, Britain was at war, right? This is World War One now we're talking about, and so big commercial ships were being requisitioned into the Royal Navy, and the Britannic could carry a lot of people, so they made her into a hospital ship. And so Violet was assigned to the Britannic.
And let me remember, the Geneva Convention was drafted after World War One, right?
Correct, but it was already kind of established under international maritime law at the time that you did not attack hospital ships. In fact, one of the big kind of sensational things that brought the United States into World War
Lusitania.
One, or well, was the Lusitania, which was a commercial ship, but there was a hospital ship, a British hospital ship that was torpedoed by a U-boat, and then the U-boat captain ordered the boat to surface and machine gun the lifeboats. Um, so those kinds of things did happen, but they were considered war crimes already, and
Mm-hmm.
that captain would have been executed had he survived the war, but he didn't because the boat sank. Anyway,
Ha,
um,
karma.
different story. Yeah, karma. No kidding. Um, so Violet is on board the Britannic. They make a few cruises in and out of the Mediterranean, picking up wounded soldiers, and and eventually, on November 21st, 1916, um, the Britannic is steaming through some islands that were Greek possessions in the Mediterranean and hits a
Okay.
mine and
Oh.
starts sinking. So here we go again. So Violet Jessup gets kind of lumped in with this group of people who are kind of panicking. And the ship is sinking slowly. She's not sinking fast.
Not like the
Uh,
Titanic.
no, well, the Titanic didn't sink real
No?
fast either. It was mainly a lifeboat problem, as
Hmm.
opposed to a time problem. But the Britannic is sinking relatively slowly. There's going to be time to evacuate. But these people panic, and they load up a lifeboat and they lower it from one of the furthest aft sets of lifeboat cranes, and the Britannic was at full steam when she hit the mine, so the engines had not had time to stop yet
Just
when
like
they
the
lowered
Hawk.
this life.
The-
So the lifeboat gets sucked right in to those big, massive propellers and gets just splintered into a million pieces. Violet goes overboard to try and get away. She does get away. She survives the destruction of this lifeboat.
that lady needs to
And
go buy a lottery ticket.
I know, right? So she's now 3 for 3. Um,
How do you
but
know?
she
How do you
can
know I'm not immortal? I haven't died yet.
right, yeah. I mean, talk about people who are actually immortal as opposed to Caligula claiming to be. Um, she actually, she went overboard from the lifeboat. She tried to come up to the surface and hit her head on a piece of the lifeboat and suffered a serious concussion and blacked out. But mercifully, somebody else saw her and pulled her out of the water. So she did not drown. She survived and went on to live more or less happily ever after. She actually kept working on ships after that.
Why would you
Um,
tempt fate like that?
I have no idea. She was never in any of these other incidents. She ended up working on ships all the way until 1950 and then retired and lived out the rest of her days. So there you have it. Crazy story
Ye-
of the night.
Yeah.
Violet Jessup, the woman who survived all three White Star catastrophes: the Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic.
Yeah, no. After the Olympic incident with the Hawk, I would just been like, yeah, nope.
Maybe the ocean's not for me. She actually came from a family of ocean-going people. Her mother, she was actually born in Argentina because her mother was a stewardess.
Okay,
But anyway,
it's like,
there you have it.
wow, that's I thought I had cheated death.
Yeah, she somebody was looking out for Violet Jessup for sure.
And just like, could you imagine writing back home about that? Like when you're, it's like, hey, so did you hear? So you may have heard about the incident with the USS or with the HMS Hawk. Yes, I was on the ship at that time. No, nothing else happened. We're all fine. A year later, hey, so I'm alive.
You're right.
I
Yeah.
survived again. 4 years later, they just see the letter and they're just like,
Here we go again.
"Do we really want to open this?"
I mean, it's probably a good thing, right? That she's still sending letters because that's an indication that she's still alive. You know, when you get a letter from her, okay, she must have been on another, sunken ship.
It's like, man, just remind me never to invite her to parties because it's like, yeah, I served in a battalion in World War One. It's like, oh, really? Wow, I survived 3 shipwrecks.
Right. They called her Miss Unsinkable. That was her kind of nickname. She lived to be 83.
Oh man,
Had a long life.
wow.
So there you go.
There we have it. Wow, it's amazing the kind of stories you can find in history, and like these things we're talking about, you normally would not hear in your average history class. I mean,
Right, and I think that's the goal. It's to go beyond just, here's a list of Roman emperors. It's here's this crazy dude who is a Roman emperor. Let's learn about him.
who
You
wanted
know,
to make his horse the consulate?
Arthur Conan Doyle, writing as Sherlock Holmes, once writing the character of Sherlock Holmes, once wrote that the truth is always stranger than fiction, or words to that effect. And I think we're really seeing that so far in these first 2 episodes, right? These stories that we're hearing, that you can't make this stuff up, right? Nobody would believe this stuff if you submitted it as a
It
movie plot.
it sounds like a video game. I'm
Right.
sorry, but it sounds like a really terrible. It, it sounds like I'm describing a Skyrim mod to you. I mean, a horse as a consulate. Why not?
Right.
I've seen Stranger Things in Skyrim,
Right.
but
So I mean, our goal is to present these kind of interesting facets of history that you may not get other places.
yeah. And we will cover any topic.
Yeah, we're gonna be bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
We've already gone. I mean, last week we hit Abraham Lincoln and
Now we hit Emperor Caligula.
Caligula. Um, we've hit what was
The guy that got
the one that
capped
you did
after
last
saying
time?
that they
I'm
can't.
blanking.
The guy that just got capped after saying, "Yeah, they ain't gonna hit us." That
Oh
was
yeah, the general.
General J. Sedgwick.
Right, General Sedgwick. So we've had Civil War, U.S. Civil War as well, and now we've had World War One and the Titanic sinking. So we've already been all over the place. We will continue to go all over the place because all of history is full of these crazy stories, and we are definitely going to be going all over history to find them.
And any and all viewers out there, if you have a story that you want to hear us discuss, send it in. We'd love to hear what you want.
Absolutely.
We want to tell stories that you want to hear. This isn't just, oh hey, two guys, we know history. Let's show it off. No.
We want to react to your crazy stories that you find.
And if we get enough of you all sending in stuff, who knows? We might just do like, I would absolutely love to do this. It's just live reactions, just for an entire stream. You guys just send in a story. We'll look it up and just be like, wait, I'm sorry, he did what? Where? With whose donkey?
Made him a consul. Anyway,
You're gonna be thinking about that for like the rest of the week, aren't you?
I love it. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it'd be like the president appointing his dog as the Secretary of State.
Hmm.
You know, that would be. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, man, I hoped you enjoyed that story, Jonathan. And I mean, It's your turn next week.
Absolutely. I will do my best to come up with something interesting and exciting and weird, and we'll keep having fun with these stories.
Yep.
If you all have been listening tonight, we really appreciate you tuning in.
Hmm.
Uh,
We we
we
we love your support, guys. We're doing this for you, and you know, if you know someone that loves history, loves funny stories, or is just looking for time a way to kill time on a Wednesday night, let them know about us.
come learn something. Come have a good time.
Yeah,
We hope if you are listening that you'll come back and keep enjoying these stories with us. We sure have fun telling them.
yeah, we do. And I don't know. I think that's it for tonight. I mean,
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
yeah. So yeah, again, I know we've said this like 50,000 times just this stream, but thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time when we have another story to tell.